Hi everyone, just waiting to make sure that everybody's on here. We'll start in a few seconds. Thanks. Okay, we'll make a start. So, hi everyone, and welcome to CA's webinar on Microsoft Azure and how to get started on your journey. I'm Dan Hall, technologist for Data Center and Cloud here at CAE. We'll run through some introductions and then we'll take you through, hopefully, some information that will be useful to you when you're considering Microsoft and Azure. As I said, I'm Dan Hall. I'm technologist here at CAE. I've been here for 15 years. I've come through the technical ranks of the business through consultancy and pre-sales and architecting, and now really look after our data center and cloud strategy. So work across our technical teams and really act as an enabler on how we can talk to our customers best. Joining me today is Nathan McGee. Nathan, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you, Dan. Hi, everyone. I'm Nathan. I've got over 10 years experience as a Microsoft consultant with a handful of Microsoft certs covering cloud architecture, cybersecurity, DevOps, Microsoft 365. In my role as lead cloud consultant, I spend most of my time speaking to customers about cloud technology, how they can use cloud technology to overcome business problems, how they can effectively adopt cloud technology. And over the years, I've gained a good understanding of the challenges that organizations face when adopting cloud. And I hope I can share some of that experience with you today and help you put your best foot forward on your cloud journey.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nathan. So just wanted to go over what we're going to cover today. Today is the first in a kind of a series of different types of events that we're doing. So today is the first one in that series. We're just going to cover a few topics today that hopefully will give you some good pointers. So we're going to cover what the benefits generally of the cloud are, and we'll maybe cover some myths and things that are good to know. Why Azure? When we're talking about cloud providers, there's obviously a few out there. So why do we prefer Azure, and why do we think that Azure is a good choice? How we approach your cloud journey as CAE and as a partner, and maybe what some of those experiences, as Nathan mentioned, that we have, we can bring to the table, and what to do next. Where can we help you start? What options are there to kind of get you cracking? I can see a few familiar names that have joined us today, and kind of welcome those. But for those of you who don't know who we are, just a really quick run through of CAE. CAE are a valued partner, and we've been in the industry for quite a long time, as you can see there. We like to get to know our customers really well and try and be transformational where we can and take them on a journey. We do this by having a number of strategic relationships. Some are mentioned there, but not all. And as you can see there, that covers really the broad spectrum of technologies that we feel are really relevant to our customers. You can see some interesting information there, such as we're of a substantial size, well over 400 employees, and across multiple locations in the UK. We also have our own in-house service desk that's highly rated, and we're really proud of our best companies. In terms of CA Microsoft specifically, as we're here talking about Azure today, we really have a good pedigree in Microsoft. As we said, been going for a long time, and over that time, infrastructure has played an integral part in that. And obviously, in the last 10 years or so, cloud is more and more prevalent, and we see that in most customers and environments in some way, shape, or form. From a Microsoft point of view, as you can see, there are lots of technical resources. Very keen on making sure that we can deliver as much as possible that's relevant to us and our customers with our in-house expertise. We're a tier 1 direct Microsoft partner, so if you need to consume your Microsoft with us, we act directly with Microsoft. There's no middleman. And that's how we like to behave. It gives us that flexibility, and off the back of that, we have our own 24/7 in-house UK service centre that are held at our offices. Um, we have over 100 active cloud customers, so we've got good experience of helping our customers, and we see lots of different experiences with those day to day. And really proud to make sure that we've got all of the certifications and relevant specializations that are relevant to what we want to deliver to our customers, including things like fast track to help unlock funding and that kind of thing. If you wanted to find out more about our credentials there, please reach out to your account manager or reach out to us directly on the contact for this and anything else that we're talking about today. Just wanted to hand over to Nathan, and we'll start to dig into those agenda items. So thanks, Nathan. I'd like to hand over to you.
Thank you very much. So, benefits of cloud. Now, when we talk about the benefits of cloud, I feel I need to clarify something. I'm not talking about the benefits of the cloud platform itself, but rather the benefits of adopting a cloud operating model alongside that cloud platform. So the cloud operating model is really, really important. I would argue that not having a cloud operating model was the main anti-pattern of the first wave of cloud adoption. We saw a number of organizations move workloads to the cloud only to find it was more expensive and it lacked the agility that they'd hoped for. We can now see the reason for this. They changed their infrastructure, but not their mindset. They stayed with a traditional operating model. So what's the traditional operating model? Well, the traditional operating model was born out of the hardware refresh cycle. It focuses on upfront investment of resources with a return on that value spread over 5 years. But if the demand on the resource isn't predictable, IT will run out of resource. Systems start to degrade. In terms of performance and reliability, eventually IT will struggle to just keep the lights on. So the challenge then is both that 5-year refresh cycle, but also the fact that change is not in IT's best interest. Well, how can you adopt new technology when IT have learned that change is bad, and when you have to wait up to 5 years before you have the resources to even try? So what's a better approach? What's the cloud operating model? The cloud operating model is born out of the agility and scale of the cloud. So with the cloud operating model, you focus on workloads instead of resources. A workload is a collection of resources that work together to perform a specific business function or service. But if we're no longer concerned with consolidating hardware for cost saving, and we no longer have to organize our infrastructure according to those hardware resources, we can keep workloads separate and mostly independent of each other. That makes it much easier to align IT costs and access more directly to organizational value in the functions and services they provide. Let's say you've got a finance system. You can control the security of that workload independently. You might need tighter security controls. You might need to meet different standards for regulatory compliance. You might need to retain data for longer periods of time. All of those considerations can be made based on the finance workload without having to apply them to every other workload. Well, you can see then how change control can become much less stressful when you only have to consider the impact a change will have to the workload it's relevant to, instead of all critical systems. So to summarize, I guess, life cycle, cost, data, and security, they can all be considered based on the individual workload's needs instead of the needs of the entire infrastructure. Now, when we combine that mindset with the tools available to us in the cloud management plane, we start to see all the promises that were made to us about cloud. We can be more agile. If the demand on a particular workload suddenly increases, it can be scaled up without impacting the other workloads. We can promote self-service. Workload owners can have a greater level of access to their resources without gaining visibility or access to other workloads. That means they can carry out basic tasks like restoring data or restarting services. That then reduces the overhead on IT. The cloud management plane allows us to establish policies, quotas, and boundaries to prevent someone from accidentally or maliciously accessing other workloads or deploying a large number of resources, for example. But if IT are able to focus on governance, then the perception of IT shifts. IT are no longer gatekeepers, they're now facilitators. We can also support things like rapid innovation. Workloads can be completely isolated from critical systems, simply and easily. And that allows new systems to be developed, tested, trialed with no impact to the other workloads. We also can realize some cost savings. So through the consumption-based cost model, the return on a workload's value is now based on the life of the workload, not the life of the hardware. That could be years, but it could be weeks. There's no need for large upfront investment before you're able to try a new technology. You can deploy a new system, set a small budget, and run it for a few weeks to determine if it's the right fit for your organization. If it doesn't work out, you stop the workload. The cost stops too. If it does work, then you have something tangible to show the organization. This is the value it will bring us, and this is what it will cost. The information gathered from the trial run, using that to put a business case together, will be far more accurate than trying to base it on marketing information or a sales pitch from a vendor. So then, why Azure? Next slide, please, Dan. Thank you. I'm not going to talk to you about all the Microsoft marketing highlights that they'll tell you. They're a market leader. You want a cloud you can trust. You want to be future ready. No. Let me talk to you about the points you should focus on when deciding what cloud platforms you should be using. So if you have an existing investment in Microsoft technology, there will be benefits to adopting Azure. Things like hybrid licensing benefits. If you already have Microsoft licensing for Windows Server or SQL, you may be able to reduce the cost of those services in Azure. If you have Microsoft 365 licenses, you may be able to reduce the cost of security analysis in Azure. If you need to consider a hybrid or multi-cloud approach, maybe you've got resources in other cloud platforms or on-premises, you can still adopt the Azure cloud management plane without moving your resources. That means you can still benefit from things like self-service and cloud governance without having to migrate resources. There's a huge number of options in this space. You can use Azure to provide cloud backup, to maintain security baselines, to automate operations. And the VMs can be anywhere. They could be on-premise, they could be in AWS, they could be in GCP. It doesn't matter. You can still bring the Azure cloud management plane to them. If you're looking to migrate Microsoft-based workloads, there are far more integrated options available. For example, if you use Windows file services or distributed file services for network shares, you can integrate Azure Files. That allows you to bring the global reach and scale of the cloud to your workload without having to completely re-architect it. You can kind of just bolt it on and then progressively migrate the workload to the cloud in a controlled manner, reduces impact, and keeps the end user experience mostly familiar. Microsoft have established themselves as a leading cloud platform primarily by providing platform as a service products that complement or integrate with other Microsoft products. So platform as a service products provide that shared operating model where responsibility is shifted onto the cloud provider, making things like patching and maintenance part of the service instead of another IT overhead. And finally, if your IT teams have a good working knowledge of Microsoft products, they'll feel at home in Azure. Microsoft use similar conventions and terminology across their products, which will reduce the uplifting skills required and make good use of Azure as your cloud management plane. Now, I'm going to hand you back to Dan, who will take you through our ethos.
Thanks, Nathan. Really insightful, and I know there's a lot to try and squeeze in there. So thank you very much. So just wanted to talk really now about how we like to approach cloud. And there's a few key things that we would like to take away. Our ethos here at CAE when we talk about cloud is very much based around the mantra of right place for the right workload. If you take anything away from us today, it would be that message. We are not, as CAE, here about trying to just lift and shift your environment. We are not. Azure's the question. Azure's the answer. Sorry, what's the question? We are. How can we make it work for you? What are your desired outcomes? And how can we figure out what the right blend of technology is to get you to that outcome? So what we like to do is we want to understand your environment. We want to get to know you. We want to get to know where you want to go and where you are today. Then we figure out, well, actually, what are the right places for your technologies that you're using? We tend to go with the methodology that starts with SaaS and then moves through the stack there. So SaaS products. So the obvious one might be Office 365, for example. What can we do to make maximum use of your Office 365 investment? But equally, there might be other SaaS, other platforms you're using that have SaaS options, and we should also investigate those. As we start to move into Azure, then we're going to look at things like cloud PaaS services. So we talked about cloud native services a moment ago, things like SQL or Azure Files, those kind of things. So can we make use of cloud native solutions to maximize the benefits that you're going to get? Of course, then there's going to be places for virtual machines, and we'll help figure out, well, what virtual machines should sit in Azure, but actually what ones aren't right for Azure, what ones should stay on premise or in your current estate. And we'll kind of help figure that out. So really, as a summary, what we want to do is understand you, understand your environment, and understand where you want to get to. And then we'll figure out the right blend of technologies, including the cloud, to help you get to that goal. How do we do that? Well, we have a pathway of an engagement model that we like to follow. It aligns with our overall CA methodology and things like the cloud adoption framework from Microsoft. Basically, we want to get to know you, and to do that, we have to take you through a series of engagements. We start with workshops and envisioning, which is about us getting to know you, but also about you getting to know the technology and what's possible. Once we've done that, we can start with assessments. We start with a basic assessment, normally with people that are at the beginning of their journey, and this helps us figure out what is the potential of your environment specifically, and what does that look like? What does the cost analysis look like for that in the cloud, including some intelligence like if we right-sized your environment and optimized. And as Nathan mentioned earlier, what about if you have licenses that we want to bring into that equation, those kind of things. That helps us build a business case, and it helps you decide, actually, is cloud right for you, and do you want to continue on this journey and invest time and effort and maybe some commercials to get there. We would then work with you to do some more detailed assessments and planning, and ultimately start to really figure out what that blend of technology is like using 6R's methodology, which is basically what we just talked about, figuring out what workload should go where and in what format. Once we've got that, we're really proud of CAE that we want to make sure that you start on the right foot, and that's what we think your next step should be. And we do that by what's called deploying landing zones. It's part of a CAE foundation in deployment, and what that means is you're starting on the right foot. So we're deploying the framework in Azure that you can start consuming resources on. It's tailored to the kind of resources that we figured out along that journey. And it means that you know now that you're safe, secure, and you're built in the right way, and you can be confident to start consuming that resource and start building that environment. Obviously, then, depending what that tailored solution looks like for you, you could start with proof of concept. We have accelerator packages depending on specific technologies, or it might be a larger program of work with migrations and reformatting applications. But the point is that we take you through these steps so that we can really clearly understand you, you know what's going on the way, and really that we're a team and we work in partnership together. So just some key takeaways really from what we've just talked about. So important things that hopefully you've understood as we've talked through today. So it's important to understand why you want to go there. If you're talking about cloud, why are you talking about cloud? As someone just said, we should go into the cloud, but there's no real understanding of why you want to go there. Or have you got some key reasons why you're making that step? Invest time and effort in planning properly, really understand. And at that point, we would say engage a partner to help you with that planning process. Partners have been there and seen and done lots of different types of engagements already. They've normally seen lots of shapes and sizes of customers and engagement models and different kind of outcomes that people are trying to get to. So they tend to have seen that before. Certainly we have, and we would feel that we can add some real good insights to help you on that planning stage and really do that properly. And as I just mentioned, start right. It's really important to kind of get those good foundations in so that you can be confident to build on. Nathan mentioned earlier about costs and maybe some of those early engagements where maybe people have had cost spiraling, those kind of things. And we would say stay optimized. And we add a lot of intelligence and optimization at the beginning stages of the journey, but also we would add optimization in an ongoing basis as well. And really embrace that cloud operating model that Nathan talked about earlier on. Embrace native cloud technologies and platform services, but also the new way of working. Hopefully, we've given you some good insights into what you've into what was interesting for you today, and hopefully it's kind of pitched at the right level. It can be quite difficult for us to make sure that we've tailored our presentation to a multiple audience, but please understand those takeaways. Next steps available to you are reach out to us and have a cloud workshop. We can have you at our offices, come to you, or have remote sessions, but we will put myself, Nathan, and any other subject matter experts in the room with you just to talk through what's possible, just to understand what the cloud could mean for you, and to see if it's right for you to take some of those early steps on your journey. If you feel like you're already there and you want to start with assessments, then we can do cloud and economic assessments, mostly funded for early adopter customers. So we can take you through that first level of assessment, figure out if that's the right sort of step for you. What does commercials look like? What's the art of the possible? Really be keen to talk to anybody on there. We're going to go and look at some questions. There's been a few questions kind of coming in as we've gone. We're going to pick a few of those out. We might not get through all of them because of time, but if we don't get to your question, we will try and get back to you after the call as well. I'm going to paraphrase this because we've had a couple of questions that are kind of similar, which is I've already started in Azure. Can I still deploy a landing zone? Someone used the word retrofit, but that's an interesting question. So maybe I'll answer that a little bit, and I'll ask Nathan maybe to add some meat into my answer. The short answer is generally yes, we can do that. Obviously, there's a dependency on maybe how far down the road you've gone, about how complex that might be, but we would certainly encourage that foundation is right. No matter what. So certainly if you've sort of maybe just accelerated in for some reason, and therefore you're kind of like, oh, maybe I've just sort of rushed in and I'd like to take a step back and redo that, we would certainly encourage that kind of behavior. And that's quite actually a common engagement for us at the moment. So certainly we would encourage that conversation. Nathan, I don't know if you want to add anything to my answer there.
Yeah, we've seen a few of those, haven't we, Dan? A few of those situations where we've got those resources and they maybe didn't change their mindset. They haven't adopted that cloud operating model. They've just kind of thrown some resources into the cloud and you feel like you're stuck with it. You're not. We've still got the opportunity to build that cloud operating model, and the cloud is really, really flexible in the way that it can be organized, or the Azure cloud platform that is. So we can create a new landing zone or a new foundation alongside your existing resources without impacting them up front. So we can build that what good looks like and then we can start to structure how we start to shift things over into the new world.
Fantastic, thank you. I've had a couple of questions about where should I start. They probably came in before I talked about this slide, but just I guess to reiterate those, certainly the next step for us, especially if you're early on in that journey, is get in contact with us for that cloud workshop that I just mentioned. We can talk to you about where you are, where you want to go. Really open conversation. That's kind of how we want to work at CAE, and then we would look to follow in and assessments and see where you are on that engagement model and take you down that journey. Someone's mentioned about how to control costs. Presumably, we've mentioned that a couple of times as we've kind of gone along. So I could start to take that one. So there's maybe a multifaceted answer to costs. To be fair, that's maybe a bit broad. So you've sort of got costs where we start. So as we are going through those planning stages, we actually add a lot of intelligence to do with costs. That is quite high on our agenda of things to worry about, not just the technical. So we look at a lot of things like bringing your own license, like right sizing, that kind of thing. We certainly wouldn't recommend that anybody just drop servers in Azure in the same size they are now, for example. We also do some other clever stuff around should workloads be on 24/7, or is there a better way of kind of adding automation and some clever stuff into there, which we're quite kind of proud of. And also, as we said, things like using PaaS services, which quite often can be more cost effective than running things in as servers anyway. So those two things are quite intertwined. I would then say that there's an ongoing cost conversation as well. So we have cost optimization health checks, which actually we can run if you're already in Azure as well. So we quite often do that. So if you're already in Azure and you want us to kind of do a bit of an optimization check, we can do that. But we use those as well as an ongoing basis for customers that are onboarded with us. And we also have optimization services, which are a more regular service and platform that you can actually go in and kind of look at your optimization options on an ongoing basis, and that's kind of a service level thing. I feel like I've covered a lot there, Nathan, but I want to give you the opportunity to jump in if there was anything you wanted to add to that, but it's okay for you.
Thanks. Yeah. I was going to say that again, going back to the differences between that traditional operating model and the cloud operating model. In that traditional operating model, cost has generally been hidden from IT teams a lot. And it's one of the things that we'll need to accept going forward. We can't hide it anymore. When we're in a consumption-based cost model, any action that someone takes in a cloud platform could cost money. We need to build awareness within the team, but that's how we can do it. Everything that Dan just explained that we can do with cost optimization and regular reporting and helping you set budgets, and the fact that the cloud lends itself to automation. So we can use that automation to cost optimize your resources as well. So we can definitely put you on the right path, but there is an element of if we shift this mindset, we are going to have to accept there's going to need to be a greater level of awareness of cost within the IT team.
Fantastic. There was one question from somebody that was about what if I needed something specific. So I did mention earlier that we have our kind of overall engagement model, but as we sort of get to understand you, we do have accelerators that are more geared towards specific things. So examples of that might be we have accelerators for Azure Virtual Desktop. We have accelerators for cloud management, those kind of things. So we do have specific engagement models that we would kind of wheel in that help you accelerate towards specific outcomes. Obviously, generally speaking, we like to understand where you kind of want to get to, but those things do exist. So I guess the recommendation there would be come and talk to us, reach out to us, ask us about what it is that you're trying to achieve, and if it's something specific, then yes, we obviously do need to cater for that as well, and we'll do so. I believe that we're right on the clock, so we'll answer any other questions that have kind of come in, and we'll kind of get back to you. We really appreciate you joining us today. Hopefully that was informative. Please look out for the next sessions that are coming up. So there'll be other sessions and videos, as well as other forms of collateral coming out. But in reality, how we want to work is to talk to you. So would really encourage, if there's any interest at all, then get in touch with us about a cloud workshop. We'd love to come and meet you and have a coffee and talk through what you were thinking. So thanks for your time. Cheers for that. So I guess from Nathan and myself, have a good day.
Thanks for watching, everyone.